If you've been to London in the past couple of years, you might have noticed something strange about the London Eye. The queues aren't snaking around the building anymore. The capsules going up look half empty. And if you check social media, you'll see plenty of photos showing just how quiet it's gotten. This wasn't always the case. When the London Eye opened in 2000, it was supposed to be temporary. Built to celebrate the millennium, it quickly became one of London's most recognizable landmarks. At its peak, the Eye was pulling in over 3.75 million visitors a year, making it the most popular paid tourist attraction in the United Kingdom. People would wait hours just to get on. Tour groups booked months in advance. It was the thing you had to do if you came to London. But walk past it today, and you'll see a very different picture. The queues are gone. Many capsules go up with just a handful of people inside. Some run completely empty. I visited on a weekday afternoon expecting at least some level of activity, and it felt oddly deserted. You can now just walk up and buy a ticket without any wait at all. So what happened? How did one of the busiest attractions in the UK become so quiet? The answer isn't just one thing. It's a combination of changing travel habits, rising costs, new competition, and a tourism industry that looks completely different than it did 20 years ago. In this video, we're going to explore why the London Eye feels so empty now, what it says about tourism in London, and whether this is just a temporary slump or something more permanent. Because if the London Eye is struggling, it raises bigger questions about what tourists actually want when they visit major cities today. Let's get into it. To understand what's happening now, you have to go back to when the London Eye first opened. It was March 2000, and London was buzzing with millennium fever. The Eye was built by architects David Marks and Julia Barfield, and it was meant to be a temporary structure standing for just 5 years. Instead, it became permanent and iconic. The numbers from those early years were incredible. By 2002, the London Eye had already welcomed 85 million visitors since opening. It became the UK's #1 paid visitor attraction, beating out the Tower of London, Edinburgh Castle, and Stonehenge. People came from all over the world to ride it. At 135 meters tall, it was the world's tallest Ferris wheel when it opened. Each rotation took about 30 minutes, giving passengers a full view of London from every angle. You could see Buckingham Palace, St. Paul's Cathedral, the Houses of Parliament, and on clear days, you could spot landmarks up to 40 kilometers away. The experience was unique. The capsules were fully enclosed and climate-controlled, which was different from most observation wheels at the time. Each capsule held up to 25 people, and the wheel moved so slowly that it didn't need to stop for passengers to board. Everything about it was designed to handle massive crowds efficiently. And the crowds came. School trips, tourists, proposals, corporate events. The London Eye became a must-do experience. It wasn't just a ride, it was a symbol of modern London. Travel guides listed it as essential. Every itinerary included it. If you visited London and didn't ride the Eye, people would ask why not. For over a decade, it dominated. But things started changing around 2015. One of the biggest reasons the London Eye feels empty now is simple. It's expensive, really expensive. A standard adult ticket currently costs around £32 to £37 depending on when you book. If you want a fast-track ticket to skip any remaining queue, that's £42 or more. A family of 4 is looking at over £120 just for a 30-minute ride. Compare that to when it first opened. Back in 2000, tickets were around £8. Even accounting for inflation, that would be about £15 today. The actual price has more than doubled in real terms. For many families, especially those already spending a fortune on hotels, food, and other London attractions, £120 for half an hour starts feeling hard to justify. I spoke to several tourists near the Eye, and the same thing kept coming up. The price. One family from Manchester told me they'd planned to go up but changed their minds when they saw the cost. They said they could get a nice meal for the whole family for that price instead. Another couple from Germany said they remembered riding it years ago for much less and were shocked at the current rates. The pricing strategy makes sense from a business perspective. The London Eye is privately operated by Merlin Entertainments. They're trying to maximize revenue per visitor rather than volume. But it's clearly affecting demand. When you can visit the Sky Garden for free, or go up the Shard for a similar price but with a much higher vantage point, the Eye starts looking less attractive. There's also the issue of value perception. 30 minutes feels short for that price, especially when you're not even moving or doing anything interactive. You're just standing in a slow-moving capsule looking out windows. It's passive entertainment, and in 2025, tourists want more than that. When the London Eye opened, it had the London skyline pretty much to itself. Sure, there were tall buildings, but nothing designed specifically to compete with it as a viewing attraction. That's changed dramatically. The Shard opened in 2012, and it immediately gave tourists a new option. At 310 meters, it's more than twice the height of the London Eye. The view from the Shard offers an indoor and outdoor viewing platform on the 72nd floor. You're up at 244 meters looking down at the city from a perspective the eye simply can't match. Yes, it costs about the same, but many visitors feel they're getting more for their money because of the height and the experience of being inside the UK's tallest building. Then there's the Sky Garden at 20 Fenchurch Street, which opened in 2015. Here's the kicker. It's free. You need to book in advance, but there's no admission charge. You get 360-degree views of London from 155 meters up, plus there are restaurants and bars where you can grab a drink, while you take in the scenery. For budget-conscious tourists, this is an obvious choice. Why pay $32 for the London Eye when you can see similar views for nothing? Other options have popped up too. The Tate Modern viewing level, various rooftop bars across the city, and even just walking across Tower Bridge or up Primrose Hill gives you impressive views without spending a penny. The London Eye isn't competing with one or two alternatives anymore. It's competing with dozens, many of which are either cheaper or free. The novelty of being on a giant wheel has worn off when you can get equal or better views from static buildings that don't require queuing or dealing with crowds in a capsule. The way people travel has fundamentally changed since 2000, and the London Eye hasn't really adapted. Back then, tourism was more structured. You'd buy a guidebook, follow a checklist of famous sites, and tick them off one by one. The London Eye was on that list. Today's tourists, especially younger ones, travel differently. They want experiences that feel authentic and shareable on social media. They're looking for hidden gems, local food scenes, and interactive activities rather than traditional sightseeing. Instagram changed everything. A photo from the London Eye is nice, but it's been done 1,000,000 times. There's nothing unique about it anymore. Compare that to finding a cool street art spot in Shoreditch or a quirky cafe in Notting Hill. Those feel more personal and original. The rise of short city breaks also plays a role. Many visitors only have 2 or 3 days in London. They're forced to be selective about what they do. With so many free museums, markets, and neighborhoods to explore, spending $32.30 on the Eye often doesn't make the cut. Post-pandemic travel habits have shifted too. There's been a move away from crowded tourist traps toward open spaces and outdoor activities. People want to walk along the South Bank, explore parks, or visit less congregate areas. The idea of being enclosed in a capsule with strangers, even if there aren't many of them, feels less appealing than it used to. Another factor is the decline in organized tour groups. Chinese tour groups in particular were a massive part of the London Eye's business for years. Those numbers have dropped significantly due to various economic and political factors, and they haven't recovered to pre-2019 levels. Without those large group bookings, the Eye is missing a crucial chunk of its customer base. COVID-19 absolutely devastated London's tourism industry, and the London Eye was hit particularly hard. When lockdowns began in March 2020, the Eye shut down completely. It stayed closed for months. Even when it reopened, capacity was severely restricted. Social distancing rules meant fewer people per capsule. International travel was basically non-existent, and even as restrictions lifted, tourists were slow to return. By 2021 and 2022, visitor numbers to London were still way down compared to 2019. The London Eye, which depends almost entirely on tourism, felt every bit of that decline. But here's what's interesting. Even as London's tourism has started recovering, the Eye hasn't bounced back the same way other attractions have. The British Museum, Tate Modern, and even paid attractions like the Tower of London have seen visitor numbers climb back up. The London Eye is still noticeably quieter. Part of this is timing. The Eye is an outdoor attraction in a city known for unpredictable weather. During the pandemic and its aftermath, people became more cautious about planning activities that could be ruined by rain or wind. Indoor museums and galleries felt like safer bets. There's also a psychological factor. The pandemic made people rethink what's worth spending money on. Experiences that feel overpriced or touristy are getting scrutinized more. Travelers are asking themselves if something is really worth it, and for many, the London Eye doesn't pass that test anymore. The operational costs haven't gone down either. Energy, maintenance, and staffing costs have all increased. To maintain profitability with fewer visitors, prices had to stay high or go up. But higher prices mean even fewer visitors. It's a difficult cycle to break. I decided to visit the London Eye myself on a Tuesday afternoon in October to see just how empty it really is. I arrived around 2 p.m., expecting at least a moderate crowd. What I found was striking. The ticketing area was nearly deserted. There were maybe a dozen people milling around, most of them just taking photos from the outside without any intention of riding. I walked straight up to the ticket counter with no queue whatsoever. The staff member seemed almost surprised to see me. I bought a standard ticket and headed toward the boarding area. Inside, the promotional videos were playing to an almost empty room. The whole space felt like it was built to handle hundreds of people, but there were only about 6 of us waiting to board. When my capsule arrived, I got in with just 2 other people, a couple from Spain. The capsule can hold 25 people. There were 3 of us. As we started ascending, I looked at the other capsules. Most were similarly empty. A few had small family groups. Several were completely empty, just going around with nobody inside. It was eerie, honestly. This massive structure turning slowly and barely anyone on it. The views were nice, don't get me wrong. You can see across London, pick out landmarks, and on a clear day like this one, it's genuinely pretty. But the experience felt off. There was no energy, no excitement. It felt like riding an abandoned amusement park ride. When we reached the top and started descending, I realized something. The experience itself hasn't changed since 2000. It's the exact same ride, the same capsules, the same 30-minute rotation. Nothing about it has evolved or been updated in any meaningful way. That lack of innovation is noticeable. So the big question is, can the London Eye recover, or is this decline permanent? There's no easy answer, but there are definitely things that could help. First, the pricing needs to be reconsidered. If Merlin Entertainments wants to attract more visitors, especially locals and families, they need to offer better value. Dynamic pricing that adjusts based on demand, off-peak discounts, or family packages that actually feel like deals could bring people back. Some attractions have found success with membership or annual pass programs that encourage repeat visits. The Eye could explore something similar. Second, the experience itself needs updating. It's been essentially the same for 25 years. Adding augmented reality features, interactive elements inside the capsules, or themed rides could make it feel fresh again. Imagine capsules with AR overlays that show historical views of London or highlight specific landmarks as you pass them. That would be worth paying for. Partnerships could help too. Bundling the Eye with other attractions at a discount or creating experience packages that include a meal or river cruise could add value and draw more interest. The Eye is right on the South Bank, surrounded by restaurants, theaters, and other attractions. There's potential for creative collaborations. Marketing needs to shift as well. Instead of targeting everyone, focus on specific groups. Romantic evening rides for couples. Photography-focused experiences for influencers and content creators, educational programs for school groups with discounted rates. Each of these audiences has different needs and price sensitivities. Better weather contingencies would help too. Offering flexible rebooking options or partial refunds if conditions are poor could reduce the risk people feel when buying tickets in advance. That said, some of the challenges are harder to fix. You can't make the Eye taller than the Shard. You can't compete with free attractions on price, and you can't force tourism trends to reverse. The London Eye's decline is about more than just one attraction struggling. It's a sign of how tourism itself is evolving. What worked in 2000 doesn't work in 2025. Tourists today are more price-sensitive, more experience-focused, and less interested in checking boxes off a predetermined list of famous sites. They want value, authenticity, and shareability. The London Eye, for all its iconic status, hasn't kept up with those changing expectations. It's still trading on its name recognition and its place in London's skyline. But that's not enough anymore. The fact that capsules are running empty isn't just bad for business. it changes the experience for those who do ride. Part of the appeal of major attractions is the energy and excitement of other people being there. When you're one of 3 people in a capsule on a nearly empty wheel, it feels less special and more melancholy. You start wondering if you made the right choice spending the money. What makes this situation particularly interesting is that the London Eye isn't some forgotten relic. It's still prominently featured in photos of London. It lights up every night. It's still maintained and operational, but being iconic doesn't automatically translate to being visited anymore. There's a disconnect between recognition and desire. People know what it is, they just don't feel compelled to actually ride it. This has implications for other major tourist attractions around the world. If the London Eye can empty out despite being one of the most photographed landmarks in the UK, what does that mean for other aging attractions that haven't evolved? It's a warning sign that reputation alone won't sustain visitor numbers forever. The next generation of travelers has different priorities, and attractions need to adapt or risk becoming expensive ghost rides. There's definitely still hope for the Eye. With the right changes, pricing adjustments, and innovation, it could see a resurgence. But it would require real investment and a willingness to evolve beyond what it's been for the past 2.5 decades. The question is whether the operators are willing to make those changes or if they'll keep running the same operation and hoping things improve. For now, the London Eye stands as a reminder that nothing stays popular forever, especially in an industry as fickle as tourism. The queues that once wrapped around the building are gone. The capsules spin with more empty space than people, and one of London's most famous attractions has become, ironically, one of its quietest. Walking along the South Bank today, you'll still see tourists stopping to take photos of the Eye from the ground, but far fewer are actually paying to go up. It's become more of a backdrop than a destination. That shift from participation to observation might be the most telling sign of all. If you've ridden the London Eye recently, or if you've decided not to because of the price or other reasons, then let me know in the comments. Is this just a temporary lull, or is the London Eye's best days behind it? Thanks for watching. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My wife said I wouldn't even reach 1,000 subscribers. But I believe stories about London and the reality of the United Kingdom like this deserve to be told. Help me show her that these videos matter. Please subscribe to the channel and let's keep these stories from being ignored.